Welcome, NEC Hoops fans. It is week 2 of our NEC On the Run podcast. My name is Ron Ratner. I'm the Senior Associate Commissioner of the Northeast Conference. And as always, I'm here with Ryan Peters, our longtime blogger. You can find him on Twitter at Pioneer_Pride. Ryan, we're 2 weeks into the season. We're down to 2 undefeated teams in league play. We're going to hit both of them. So let's get started. No wasting time. Let's get right into our 3-point shot. Ryan, get us going.
We're looking right at the top of the standings. Let's start with Fairleigh Dickinson, 3-0. All the prognosticators, myself included, I don't know if we drew this up in the preseason. FDU sitting there at 3-0, given the season that they had last year. But a lot of credit goes to Tobin Anderson and the squad for taking care of business. First by dispatching St. Francis Brooklyn on the road last week, and then hitting LIU with a scoring barrage at the Rothman. 14 of 28 from deep in that game. That is insane, 50%. Season high 23 assists, scored 1.26 points per possession. That's not even their best effort for the year. They had more against St. Joseph's in their upset there. So just a terrific job of offense, from Tobin Anderson's group. And no one's been able to figure out that offense yet. The Knights have even cracked 1 point for possession in their opening win against Merrimack, who has the league's best defense. So just a perfect start. They've taken care of business. They've won the games they're supposed to win, and here they are, 3-0.
They have so many weapons. You look at the league leaders in scoring. They're playing without Haru Blijan, and they're still scored 100 points in that game. And credit to LIU, by the way, for hanging in there and making a run in the second half. And that was a fun game to watch. But can people slow down FDU's attack? What do you think?
I would think so. I think the focus is you really have to try to crowd and slow down Dimitri Roberts and Grant Singleton. They're really the engine of the offense, and they get the team out in transition. So the one key is you have to limit live ball turnovers against FDU. If you give up the live ball, you're in big trouble because they're going to get down the floor and score in a hurry. Those guys are terrific in transition. So you have to eliminate that aspect of it if you're the opponent. But also, too, just making life very difficult for Roberts and Singleton. That's easier said than done. These are guys who have 100+ games in their career logged. So they've seen it all. They've done it all. But I think, you just have to face guard them all the time and do your best and frustrate them, tire them out, and hope for the best come the second half.
Yeah, watching these games, and you watch Dimitri Roberts and Singleton, and, you watch Roberts with the ball in his hand, and that's junior Robinson level quickness that we haven't seen here in a while. And that's not only a weapon in the game, it's a weapon at the end of the game when you're trying to take the ball from them and you get a guy who can hit free throws. But just an impressive 3-game start for FDU. We'll see where they go from there. Let's take it up north next to Stonehill. 3-1 start. This is one of the best starts for an NEC newcomer we've seen. It is definitely reminiscent of what we saw from Merrimack in 2019-20. Home sweep this past weekend. Where do the Skyhawks stand in your estimation?
Chris Cross has done an exceptional job, and offense was their calling card early, but they played defense this week. They really held Wagner and Central Connecticut to nothing. Going into last Thursday, the Skyhawks were 0-8 in games where they scored less than a point for possession, but this week they were 2-0 in those types of games. And, when they're holding their opponents at 26% shooting from deep, and they simply just kind of made more plays in the second half in both games. Against Wagner, Isaiah Burnett was basically just a theft artist. He had 3 steals on 3 consecutive possessions to kind of spark a 14-2 Stonehill run that led them to victory. And then against Central Connecticut, they found a way with Shamir Johnson making some threes late. Max Zagorowski had critical back-to-back threes, and so they just made shots late in the game when they had to.
Yeah, 2 things that stand out. One, they got plenty of shooters on that team.
Yep.
So that's a huge weapon. And 2 is, from watching them this weekend, it's their ability to adapt to different styles of play and still be successful. Like you said it, defensively, they were super impressive this week, and they had been really good on offense leading into conference play and then that first weekend. So that ability to adapt and play, and they'll see a host of different styles as they move through the schedule.
Yeah, it's the veteran leadership. They have 6 guys who have been there, done that, in college basketball. So when you have veteran leadership like that, you can adapt. You can play offense or you can play a defensive-minded game. It doesn't matter. And I'm a little surprised by how well they played defensively, but it just kind of goes to show that they're a versatile unit, and they're just not going to be a team that has to score 80 points to win a ball game. They've already proven against that.
Stonehill 3-1 now over the first 2 weeks. Let's move to our other 3-0 team, St. Francis University. We saw they only played once last week. They had a bye on Thursday. They come into Wagner, where we've seen, we saw maybe one of the best games in NEC history between those two teams at the Spiro Center a few years ago. Again, another slugfest, and the Red Flash were able to come out with the tough road win, held off Wagner in the end. Big game for Josh Cohen, and I know you want to talk about not only Josh Cohen, but Max Land, and of course, Landon Moore coming through down the stretch for the Flash once again.
Yeah, we know Cohen's going to get his points, and he certainly did. And we'll talk to him later in the broadcast here to get his take on that, Wagner win, where he had 27 points on 12 field goals made in the contest. But the guard play kind of really steered this victory, in my opinion. Max Land was fantastic, 17 points. He made open threes. He finished in transition. He even flashed his post game a couple of times, taking advantage of the smaller guards on Wagner who were guarding him. And then Landon Moore is just a stoic freshman. Like, the big moment does not bother him at all. He had 9 free throws in that second half, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, just filling up the stat sheet. And Rob Krimel's team has something going here. They are cooking now, and they look really good. They got they protected their home court in the opening weekend, and they got a tough road win at Wagner. It was nice to see. It was their first road win of the year.
So there it is. SFU and FDU atop the standings at 3-0, followed by an impressive debut performance, 3-1. Stonehill, and then your Sacred Heart Pioneers, Ryan, at 2-1 and have won 3 in a row with their non-conference win over Hartford over the weekend. Those are the top 4 in the standings right now, and that's our 3-point shot. This week, our special guest on NEC Open Mic is St. Francis University redshirt junior forward Josh Cohen. As we know, Josh Cohen, the 6th leading scorer in the nation this season, and we are ready to pepper you with questions. Josh, you ready to go?
Ready to rock and roll.
All right. Thanks for joining us. So you're coming off a really gritty, gutty 27-point performance at Wagner, road win for the Flash that enabled you to start 3-0 in the league play in first place. It's clear you brought the intensity throughout this game. And I know you're a competitive guy, but did that Wagner game have special meaning to you, playing in, and around the New York market, with friends and family there?
Yeah, it was awesome to be able to play at Wagner this year. I had about 50 family and friends there. I wasn't able to play there last year, so that was like that was a game circled on my schedule, definitely. Having to watch my team play from afar was really hard for me. So being able to play there, being able to play in front of my family and get a W, that was awesome.
How's your nose, Josh? You took a shot, and probably an inadvertent elbow. Playing Wagner is a physical game, but how did you feel during the game and after?
I felt when I initially got hit in the face, I looked over to the Wagner bench and they looked at me like, ooh, so I at first was like, oh no, what's going on here? Because I broke my nose my sophomore year. So I was like, we'll see what happens. So my trainer was like, it's not broken. We're just gonna give you a couple of butterflies and tape you up, and got back out there. And after the game, it hurt a lot more, getting a couple stitches, but it was the adrenaline was pumping. I was not coming out of that game, so it definitely hurt less during the game than after the game.
Yeah, you're a gamer, no doubt. I mean, you've had a tremendous first half of the year. You lead league in scoring, field goal percentage. You've attempted 197 field goals, 109 free throws. You're playing 87% of the team's minutes. Are you tired?
Not really. I mean, I kind of before the season got conditioned to play the kind of minutes that I thought I was going to play. You never know going into the season, but we have really good support systems like Coach Helton and stuff, and Coach Cram really getting me ready for the season. I kind of knew it coming in, but we also have a guy like Justin Liberis who's been pushing me, just like Mark Flagg did and other guys did in the past. He's going to be an awesome big in this league. Me and him have been working a lot of countless hours. So just being able to put the kind of conditioning in just to be able to ready for the season I knew was going to be a focal point. So I knew it was coming in a little bit.
Yeah, I've written about this, and people know about your growth spurt in high school, but kind of take me back, early on, what type of player were you before you shot up in height?
I was a guard. So I played the 1 for my dad from 3rd grade to 8th grade. And then I played the 2 going in, like my summer going into my freshman year of high school. So I was about 6'1", 6'2" at tryouts, and I was 6'4" at the end of the year. So they put me at the 4 or 5, and I didn't even start for my freshman team. Like for most of the year, I started at the end of the year because I was playing the 5 and I had no idea what I was doing. But my dad was a 5, so me and him really worked in that off season. I didn't get invited back to the varsity like workouts and stuff like going into my sophomore year. So I worked that whole summer, but I also grew like 4 inches. So I came back at 6'8", so that kind of helps you getting onto the varsity team. So I went from like 6'1", 6'2" my freshman year to 6'8" by the end of my sophomore year. So it was a big transition, but I had the right people in place to kind of put me in a position for success.
Yeah, you're a true prototypical big, but growing up as a point guard and playing at the 2 as a freshman in high school, how does that help your game now currently?
It helps a lot with like decision making. I think for the biggest part, just being able to make the reads, especially off of those, like when we run those like jungle and rub actions, like just whether it hit the guy going back door or just little things, like that, all that kind of stuff, like making reads, like definitely helped me.
Hey, Josh, we've seen you hit the elbow jumper and some runners. You looking to expand your game, hit the 3-point line. Does Coach Krimmel give you the green light from 3-point range, Luke Ruggery style?
Not exactly. Like the way he explains it is, I got to do what I got to do to put our team in a position to win games. Right now, hitting threes is not putting our team in a position to win. Like it's not within the offense, but I worked on it this summer. I've worked on it in the fall, and coming into this year, I'm not really ready for it yet, but it's definitely going to become part of my game, going forward.
Yeah, I got to put Kyle on the spot here, because you had a runner against Wagner, kind of that second half where it was like Tim Duncan-esque, like late in the shot clock, you somehow like went to your right and banked it off the glass. It was a remarkable shot. So we got to pull that up, but kind of shows the expansion of your range a bit. One thing you mentioned about your improved fitness, but one thing that I've always been impressed with, especially this year, is your footwork. Like you're not your typical big man who just kind of just goes into the half court, leans against your opponent, and then sets up for the post entry. You're moving around a lot. You're constantly moving. You're in motion, trying to find a way to get open. Take me through like how you've improved your footwork since when you started redshirting at St. Francis.
Well, Coach Krimmel and Coach T, who's a Hall of Famer at our school, and Coach Helton, Coach McConnell, all of them kind of played a whole factor in every part of my game, which is pretty cool. Like I've been able to work with all of them, and I've kind of gained some knowledge. But the guy that I've worked with the most is Coach Helton. And the one thing that he always says to me is like, just get your post touches low. Just try and get low. Try and get them as low as possible to be able to put yourself in a position for success. So, I mean, it's a lot of repetition. It's just a lot of, I keep it simple. I'm not doing all these crazy things, just keeping my seals low. And then when I catch the ball, just make the reads, like I said, from the elbow, I make like different reads. And then when it gets to the block, it's kind of the same thing. So I just kind of play off what the other player's doing,
Josh, let's switch gears a bit. We're in this transfer portal age, and within that, Coach Krimmel's done a great job retaining talent in Loretto. You look from, Keith Braxton, Jamal King, Earl Brown, yourself, long stays within the program. What does it mean to you to be a member of the Red Flash community and the community and out there in Western PA?
I mean, it's awesome. So, I went back this summer. We had a lot of alumni come back, and I got to meet all of them, and I've seen them at all of our games. We're a family here. Guys like Keith, Isaiah, they could have easily went somewhere else after their sophomore or junior years, but they want to be a part of something special. And that's kind of like what all of us have kind of bought into. We haven't been winning the last couple of years, but we've been building up towards that. So, my end goal is to bring a championship here. And, I love the people here. I love Coach Cram. I love all the coaches here. So, this is my home. So it's kind of that's my gear. That's my only gear, to be honest with you.
Great answer. We talked about, I love getting Jersey guys on the podcast here. And we talked to Media Day. I know you said you played against Rob Higgins growing up. I enjoyed watching you play last weekend against Andrew Sims at Stonehill. Did you guys have, who's also from South Jersey, do you guys have battles growing up at all in AAU ball?
No, I actually had no idea that Sims played for the Jersey Shore Warriors until I talked to a guy after the game, Mark Flagg. Me and him are still close friends, but he told me that Sims had played AAU on the Warriors. I played on the Warriors. I had no idea that he played like a year up from me. But no, I never got to play Sims until the other night. But yeah, it's just
how is that now? There's another guy who can play down in the post. He's a very versatile player. What's it like playing against a big like him? What was that battle like?
Honestly, going into the game, I know he's a very skilled player. I had seen that he had a really successful season last year. I respect his game. He is pretty solid. Some surprising moves. Like you see it on film, and then you come to play him in the game. It's a little bit different, but no, he's definitely a respectable player. And I'm excited to play him again. We get another shot at him. So.
All right, last question. We're going to let you go. To win it all this year, St. Francis University needs to fill in the blank.
Stay focused. We've talked about that in our post games. That's our new word going into New Year after Robert Morris, Coach Cream came into the locker room, and when we all got back, he said our word is going to be focused. We have it written on our board. Focus on every practice, every lift, every game. So we're going to stay focused throughout the year.
Well, there we go. St. Francis University's Josh Cohen joining us on the NEC Open Mic. Thanks so much for taking time out of your schedule, Josh. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate all the things you guys do for the league.
Next up is our weekly Heat Check, and we're going to start out in Hackensack with NEC Co-Player of the Week, Dimitri Roberts.
Welcome to the Heat Check, Mr. Roberts. He is the engine, as I mentioned earlier, of Fairleigh Dickinson's offense. Last week, 23 points, 5 assists per game, while shooting 53% from the floor. And we mentioned it earlier, he's just so lethal, not just because of his speed and his handle, but he's also remarkably controlled. Like, he doesn't turn the ball over at that speed, which you typically see a lot of at the Division I level. So he's third in the league at scoring and 17 a game, first in assists, but also sixth in assist to turnover ratio. So he's just a wonderful blend of scoring, of facilitating, of being in control, but being lightning quick to take advantage of his transition opportunities. I love watching Dimitri Roberts play.
I think we all do. Now let's go from lightning quick to brutally strong up at Merrimack. Jordan Minor is coming off a great week.
Yeah, he's heating up. 4 straight games now with 16 or more points. In his latest effort in a home victory against St. Francis Brooklyn, he posted 22 and 8. And that was after an 18 and 13 effort in a loss against Sacred Heart. So he's playing really well, and his game's mature. And we talked about in week 1 with his ability to find open teammates with the assist, but now he's making shots at the charity stripes. Now you really got to watch out. He made 76% of his shots at the free throw line over his first 4 NEC games. And if you could do that, I mean, I don't know what you can do. You can't really do a hack of Jordan anymore, so he's going to beat you on the offensive glass. He's going to beat you in the post. He's going to beat you at the free throw line. He could run it in transition. He's got that kind of athleticism. So he's obviously the complete package. I'm not saying anything new here.
Ryan, we have some great bigs in this league this year between Josh Cohen and Andrew Sims and Jordan Minor and others. So it's been fun to watch them, but I also love me a good shooter. And they got one down in Brooklyn this year. Marko Maletic, one of the most impressive newcomers in the league this season. He absolutely caught fire in Saturday's game at FDU.
Yeah, 8 of 11 from deep in that game, but he also chipped in 6 boards and a steal for good measure, but now hitting 39% of his threes on the year. And the thing that's so impressive with Maletic is he's making 60% of his unguarded catch and shoot threes per synergy. So if you leave him open, you're dead. Like 60% is a tremendous number. And, he's also been crafty inside the arc too. He's shooting 47% on 43 runners this season, and he's also 58% at the rim. So he's not your one-trick pony, at least not so far this year for LIU. He's doing it at all levels on the basketball court.
He's been great. And by the way, Ryan, I know if we left you open, and there's no way you're hitting 60% of your unguarded threes. It's not going to happen.
Maybe in my 20s, but not right now.
All right. That's our Heat Check. Dimitri Roberts, Jordan Minor, and Marko Maletic all lighting it up this past week. Next up is our Stat Chat. And Ryan, we got to look to Tanner Thomas here. Talk to me about, once again, absolutely going off at Merrimack's Hamel court. What's 2 straight seasons now?
I mean, that baby right hook is just working at Hamill Court. I don't know what to say. 16 points, 14 rebounds in a game that Sacred Heart needed every single point to win against Merrimack. And now in 2 games at Merrimack in his career, he's averaging 21.5 points, 9.5 rebounds while shooting 85% from the field. I won't go over the other numbers in the rest of Tanner Thomas's career, but let's just say he loves playing at Merrimack. And he probably should transfer there in the offseason just so he can play 12 to 14 games at Hamill Court, honestly.
An impressive performance once again from Tanner Thomas in Sacred Heart's win at Merrimack last Thursday. And that's our Stat Chat. Our game to watch this week is always one that we have circled on the calendar, the rivalry, the neighborhood rivalry, the Brooklyn rivalry. St. Francis, Brooklyn, LIU, now they're separated by less than a half a mile of pavement. We get them back on NEC TV. It's our opener on Martin Luther King Day, Monday, January 16th, 7 p.m. on ESPN3 and SNY. We've had so many great games between these two teams in the past. It doesn't matter if one of them's up, one of them's down, vice versa, or if they're both evenly matched. The fans are into it, and I'm looking forward to this one again, Ryan.
Yeah, this is Rod Strickland's first taste of the rivalry, so that's going to be fun. But yeah, I'm looking at the guard play here. Rob Higgins has had a nice year for St. Francis Brooklyn. RJ Green's been kind of he's had his moments as a freshman for sure. So I'm kind of looking at that battle between the one. And then obviously we talked about Maletich, his 3-point shooting. St. Francis Brooklyn is really good at limiting 3-point opportunities from their opponents. So I'm sure Glenn Brake is going to be having a guy face guard Maletich right when he crosses half court. So that'll be interesting to see how many attempts he actually can get off. And if LIU could kind of take advantage of them getting up and down the floor, which they like to do. They're currently 5th in the country in tempo.
There you have it. Coming up on MLK Day, St. Francis Brooklyn, LIU renew their rivalry on NEC TV. And just as a reminder, you can watch the rest of the week's games on necfrontrow.com or on the NEC on the Run series of streaming apps. As a reminder, we are on Saturday, Monday this week, not Thursday, Saturday. We are Saturday, Monday. So all teams will be playing on MLK Day. And we look forward to catching you all out at the games. That's a wrap on the NEC on the Run podcast, week 2. Ryan Peters, thank you once again for joining us.
My pleasure, Ron.